In some cases, I wonder whether limiting populations is really a good thing. It's a numbers game, isn't it? If we only have 1%, I don't know if it's true or not, but let's just use it as an example, and 99% of the people are dumbed down, are broken beyond repair, are made sick, are not educated correctly, and we keep playing the same game over and 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 over again, and yet 1% have opportunity. How do we boost in intelligence with that? How do we garner intelligence off of just this 1%? If we're dumbing the rest of our species down, isn't it a numbers ratio? And then we have to ask the question, what if any other life forms actually went the opposite way? And rather than using a monetary system or money and different things like that, they lived for abundance. Moved away a lot of issues. Perhaps maybe they didn't go into money or not. But does that make us go behind, or do we get ahead? If these ones, through, I don't know, genealogy or geographical location, or depends who they're born, what family they're born into and different things like that, and these ones get the opportunity to do things, but these ones don't. How slow is that progression ratio? Versus if other life forms, let's say they did 100% of their population, met abundance, understood abundance. It was all there for them to take. It's all there for them to create. And then it depends on how many are in their species. I mean, 1% of, 7 billion, it changes, it varies from time to time. 7 billion. What if they spent more time expanding what they are and uplifting what they are, and there was none of this sort of 1% shit? No, it was everybody. If you wanted to, you can, because that makes a stronger species, doesn't it? Think about how quick their intelligence ratio would actually increase, because they would all be learning multiple variables, learning different things. I'd have to look at the universe and think, does it have favorites? Yes, it does. Because if it didn't, wouldn't it unlock every single species on the planet? But it didn't. It selected one species to be a bit more of a cut above the rest, so to speak. So it definitely shows that it's got favorites. And it changes its mind from time to time, it would often seem, in these patterns, or choose to believe it or not. And therefore, if we looked at a collective of species, different species, extraterrestrial and so forth and so on, does it have favorites among those? I'm going to have to say yes, because if it does on the planet, then where are we on this graph? We're 1% that have all of these opportunities, 99% are sick, becoming mentally ill, becoming bored, becoming all of these weird and wonderful things, and don't have enough, and constantly in lack, constantly don't have enough to do things, don't have enough to do this, you got to jump through this hoop, you got to go over there, you got to control yourself here, you got to ask these people here, you got to ask those over there. If they say no, this says no, kick this out, let's dumb them down. If we've got this pattern going on, where do we fit on that chart? Is there anything else? Possibly. I know people don't like to think about it, that there could be other species out there. Well, what about if they're doing it 99% are the ones that are all go and 1% don't? I have to ask another question. Would you have favorites in this? What if some are at 50%? 20%? Let's take away another variable. What if they didn't have money as a problem? They weren't thinking in rare earth materials, or assuming they came from a Earth-like planet. No, they would be thinking about abundance, universal. How much is there to us? As much as you want. What do you need? What breakthroughs? How fast are they discovering, and what are they able to do? What technologies do they have? capabilities. If there was any telekinesis or anything else, telepathy, whatever else it may be, but how much have they churned into unlocking these abilities? Whereas we have spent nigh on most of century after century dumbing this shit down. Are we protected? Are we mighty? Are we the best species going? Or do we need to grow the fuck up as a species and sort of start looking at it? You know, we talk about maturity, but are we really mature? As a species, are we mature? Do we know what's good for us, really? What if these others in numbers then began to expand their numbers? They're way beyond 7 billion. We could think about that. Let's just think about it for argument's sake. Assuming that they weren't like this, and that they were the opposite, therefore they would reach to abundance. How big are their species? And then how much is this amplifying what they are, uplifting one another, breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough? Well, I would prefer to be this. And then if we understand certain things, what if they make avatars? It's just a question. It doesn't mean that anyone has, and it's not to be fearful, it's to ask that question. What would you do if you made avatars? And you could get into a planet, and you go down and see them, and they do some sort of psychological warfare on you, and sort of give you an inkling of the weaponry that you got. Maybe they bring their abilities with them, and are able to know this stuff, work it out very quickly, and then what? You're going to do all of this stuff to them, perhaps nail them to a cross or whatever it may be, and then they die. But technically they didn't die. And then what? They get back to a mothership somewhere. And all of those tactics have been learned. And then, have you learned anything about them? The answer would be no. Do you know anything about their thinking capacity? What could they do with that very small seed that you've now given them? If you don't know variables, then they could calculate very much around that. And without ever coming here or you ever seeing them, they could probably make this happen to you. I mean, that would be interesting. And you ask the question, would humans do this to others? Well, if you can do this to your own species, then yeah, you would do this to others. I mean, if you can do this to your own, then what are you capable of doing to anything else that you think is beneath you or can't see you? This would be very interesting stuff. Where do we fit on that? Wow. Oh, it's silly in a way, but some of this stuff is silly, and then it's barbaric. Up to you what you believe, though. But if we kept going this way, how far will we go? Then what is its purpose? What's the purpose of it all? To believe that we are, or to become better than we are? But does it get there with 1%? Probably at a snail's ratio. But is it fast enough? That's a question. Could it be faster? That's another question. Yeah, I think abundance brings this in. And then people start discovering and doing and experimenting, and more doing. And they're propped up by all of the basic stuff. I mean, the very basic. To be propped. I think it unlocks Pandora's box to you to get on with some harder stuff. Maybe. But it could be fun. And then all of these breakthroughs start happening in multiple fields, more. And you get more of a collection, more and more and more. And it gets faster and faster, and you develop, and before you know it, you're no longer 1%. You are 100%. And then that 100%, which is, again, a variable, because how big can your numbers grow? Well, if you're reaching space and there is the resources to do so, if rare earth resources are able to allow it to happen with 7 billion, 9 billion, give or take, whatever, then what can a solar system do? What can multiple solar systems do? How much more can you expand into that? And again, the variables just keep going and going and going. And before you know it, you're learning an awful lot about yourselves, your capabilities, and they're growing. I just don't see it doing it this way, or if it does, it's at a snail's pace. And things seem to be evolving quicker and quicker and quicker, and time is of the essence, isn't it? Yeah. And then where's that hierarchy step on that? I know, where do we put ourselves on that? Anyway, I'll dive more into this tomorrow, because right now I want to go and get on with some other stuff. But even still, just thinking about this, enhancing their capabilities as opposed to diminishing it, we would have to assume that other life forms are exactly the same as us. And I mean, if we take a look around on the planet, that's a lot of differences. There's a lot of variables on the planet. The planet is infested with life. All those possibilities. And we do have different ways of sight. Beluga whales, yes. Bats, they're a different way of seeing. Capabilities on submarines as well, which is sonar. That's very interesting. And if a camera has made it, and you make it with a camera, then I'm more than willing to bet that other life forms utilize this. And what's that seeing if you don't have eyes? Eyes get in the way an awful lot, but that knowing seems more purer. So anything without eyes might have a better way of knowing and a better way of seeing. Does it filter through all of that noise in space? Has it got a better way of seeing further? Have they amplified these gifts? These are a lot of questions, to be honest. And have they evolved them? Have they incorporated them? How many in their species? What's the percentage? 1% versus 99%? Is it 10% versus, and so on? 20-80? 50-50? 40-60? Who knows? But still, slow progress, really, isn't it? And then if just a small minority of us have this stuff, it's very slow just to get ahead of the species rather than the whole species. Shooting like a star, I suppose. Shooting star. Well, anyway, just want to chew on. Whether it's right or wrong, that's a different story entirely, but I think it's important that you be the judge of that. Where would you be if you could lead humanity? How would you change it? That's a question and a half, isn't it? And then, is there more strength in we? Yes, it comes with problems. Don't get me wrong, because some people can abuse the stuff and go, but I don't know. If you're occupied and distracted on certain things, is it really going to go that way? And all of the toxicities that build up as well. My word. Oh well, it is what it is.